Welcome to Magnetic Gaming. This is the first episode of 2021. We'll just call it Season 2. We'll do a new season as each new year approaches. And what we're going to discuss today are my impressions of all the two-player Mario games for the NES and Famicom that I've played. And these break down into two categories. You have the official releases that have two-player modes. Includes original Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario 3, and the one in the middle there is the first game that I got with my first Nintendo as a kid, which was the combination cart with Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet. And then you have these. These are all Famicom carts. The one on the top left is Super Mario Brothers 4 for the Famicom. Underneath it is an unofficial, unlicensed port of Super Mario World to the Famicom. And the game to the right is a game called Armadillo, and it's relevant to this video you'll see later on. So the first game in the series is Mario Brothers. Go ahead and play the arcade song for it. And yeah, simple concept. You can't jump on the heads like later Mario games. You just hit the blocks underneath an enemy. Some require one hit. Some require two hits, and then you knock them off the board until they're all gone. You can't get hit. And if you want to give everybody a single hit, you can use the POW button below, the POW block. This has been ported to numerous different systems over the years. It started off in the arcade in 1983, and back then it was before the Famicom and Nintendo Entertainment System had really taken off. The NES hadn't even been released yet. It is still about 2 years away from its limited release in certain target markets. So it was ported to the Atari 2600. Over time it got ported to the 5200, 7800, Atari 8-bit computers, Commodore 64. There's a Apple II version that is never officially marketed, but it's been released. PC-88, ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC. It's on the Game Boy Advance. It's on the Virtual Console and numerous other places. So yeah, with the NES version, apparently there are a few differences from the arcade version, and it has gotten some poor reviews as a result of it being perceived as being an inferior version. The gameplay in general, it is somewhat slippery, and you do have to get used to needing momentum. If you need to make a jump, if you need to jump up someplace, you need a running start. Yeah, overall it's a fun, simple game. Controls can be occasionally somewhat frustrating, but nothing really too complex there. It's your standard 80s arcade fare. But yeah, that's the first Mario release game. It's also on the Game & Watch handheld. And we'll move on to the next game, which is the one most people are probably most familiar with, which is the first Super Mario Brothers game. And I know, I like the underwater theme. I paired it with a video that's not underwater. With this, with the Mario Brothers, it was two-player simultaneous. With this, the two-player is two-player alternating. Basically, player 1 plays until they die, then player 2 starts over. It's basically like two games going on at once, except it switches over to the other one upon death. With this one, you can jump on heads. There is occasional screen flicker both on the actual game itself, the cartridge, and the emulator. Yeah, this game was released in Japan in September 1985, and it was released later in 1985 to North America, and had 1987 launch releases in Europe and Australia. For those that haven't played this game, you have a variety of power-ups. If you are the small Mario, you can't take any hits or you die. If you are any form of a big Mario, which includes either the flower Mario, which can shoot fireballs, or just the bigger Mario that doesn't have any extra special abilities, you can take one hit and then you turn into small Mario. When you hit a block that has a power-up, if you are a little Mario, you automatically get the mushroom, which turns you into a standard big Mario. And if you're big Mario and you hit a block that has a power-up, it will give you the flower. But yeah, you have 8 worlds. You have 4 levels in each. And there is a way to skip through the game quite quickly. Basically, World 1, Level 2, you just get to the very top of the screen and run all the way to your right. And then you hit a certain set of blocks in World 4-2, which I'll keep it on until we get to that point so you can see it. But yeah, with Super Mario Brothers, this is when the Mario titles became Nintendo console exclusive. So this has been ported unofficially and unlicensed to other platforms. But as far as actually licensing out the intellectual property in the game, they no longer do that. So basically the goal of the game is you're Mario, player 2 is Luigi, and you're racing through Mushroom Kingdom, trying to survive Bowser's forces, including 7 of his henchmen at the end of the 4th level of each world, and then finally at the 8th world level 4 of the 8th world is when you actually take on Bowser. With this one, if you get 100 coins, you get an extra life. But yeah, there's lots of secrets. It's actually quite a fun game to watch. It's probably one of the most popular games as far as speedrunning goes. And given the limitations of the NES hardware, if you look closely at the Mario sprite, or really any of the sprites, they're all using 4 colors or less. It's actually quite impressive that they have sprites looking that good with such a minimal color palette. So yeah, it's first game I played as a child. Definitely a game I'd still recommend to this day. It actually holds up quite well, but definitely out of the 3 Super Mario games for the Nintendo, in my opinion, it's the one that has aged the worst, even though all 3 have aged quite well. It's definitely the most basic of the bunch. But yeah, if you're wanting to pick it up today, I believe it's on the Virtual Console. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. And this one's my favorite out of the 8 and 16-bit Mario games, and that is Super Mario Bros. 3. This game released in Japan on October 23rd of 1988 and didn't come to North America until 1990, when you already had the TurboGrafx 16 and the Sega Genesis, two 16-bit consoles on the market, and didn't reach PAL territories until 1991. But yeah, as a game that helped keep the Nintendo relevant at the time, it actually looks quite impressive. If you didn't know anybody, you might actually think this is a 16-bit title. Yeah, you can look, if you understand the color palette limitations, you can definitely see that. But as far as the crispness of the sprite work and how well the music's composed, actually looks better than a lot of early Sega Genesis and TurboGrafx 16 titles. This game also has quite a few secrets, like here, go up to that pipe, get some extra coins. You can also get 2 warp whistles in a couple of the first early levels. They'll take you, if you use both of them back to back, you get all the way to the 8th world, which is the final world. Quite a few more levels in the game. And instead of just being a 2-player alternating, there actually is a little game you can play in between, which is right here. Yep, it's the original Mario Brothers game. I didn't have a second person to play with when I recorded this, but you can kind of get the gist of it. Whoever gets to 5 first wins. Yeah, this game it's on the Game Boy Advance and the NES besides the Virtual Console. But even to this day, it's, from a lot of publications, it's one of the highest rated games. From game rankings, the aggregate score is 97.5%. From Meme Machines, 98%. And it's on it's on many best video games of all time list. Meg and I both have it as one of the few games out of the few hundred we have scores for that actually has a score of 6, which is our perfect score. So yeah, you have a huge variety of power-ups in this game. I didn't have time to show them all. You have a statue, frog suit, you have the tail, you have the fireball like before. Don't have Yoshi, which is one of the things I really liked about Super Mario World was the inclusion of Yoshi, which really impacted gameplay. But yeah, with this, instead of it just being purely 2-player alternating, adding the little game in between that you can choose to do to, like when you beat a level, if you're Mario, the square is marked with an M, and if you're Luigi, it's marked with an L. And you can have a competition to see who can get the most squares. And if you win this game, whoever wins the game for that square ends up getting their first initial on there instead. Also, I wouldn't say it's that challenging of a game, but it's definitely more challenging than the original Super Mario Brothers. So yeah, that's the 3 official releases. Everybody's read about those and knows about them. Well, most people do at least. What I really wanted to talk about, getting those out of the way, are the interesting games. We'll start right here. Super Mario World for the NES. It's an unlicensed, unofficial port. They do have Famicom cartridges out there that you can purchase. But yeah, it was developed by a team called Hummer Team, published by JY Company, released in 1995. JY Company is a Taiwan company, which is one of the main reasons they could get away with that. They're also responsible for numerous other hacks getting released. Including a hack of J-League winning goal 96 as FIFA International Soccer, hack of Wacky Races as Lion King, and numerous other games. They also have a lot of original productions, including a port of Aladdin, a port of Donkey Kong Country, Final Fight 3, Mickey Mania, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Mortal Kombat 2, Tekken 2, and other titles. For being a small publisher in Taiwan, and these being unlicensed, unofficial games, they're actually not too bad. There are issues with definitely some issues. The jumps are a bit floaty. There's definitely some slowdown issues with Super Mario World. And it does take some time adapting to all the quirks. You also can't save the game. It's missing quite a few levels, but it has the bare bones Super Mario World present. At least enough of it where it feels like Super Mario World. And you have Yoshi as well. So just some of the changes. Mario Super Fire and Cape sprites are from Super Mario 3. There's multiple Yoshi houses across the map. And you get extra lives by entering them. There's no message box there either. The map design is definitely more linear. It doesn't have all the branching paths. And it appears open when you first start. There's only the overworld map. You don't have the interior areas like the forest. There's no Valley of Bowser. The Star World and Special World aren't present at all. The Bowser Cave is the final level, and they redo parts of the castle where there's the branching paths and just make it a more linear experience. Since there isn't vertical scrolling, right there you can see some issues with screen flickering. But yeah, since there's not vertical scrolling, there's a lot of levels that were completely redone. The music's obviously not the same music, and some of it's considerably different. From what I heard, about all of it except one song was definitely recognizable, albeit much more stripped down, given the obvious differences between the capabilities of the 5 channels present on the NES and the audio chips in the Super Nintendo. There's some stuff that can be killed with fireballs that couldn't in the Super Nintendo game, as well as stuff that couldn't be killed. Well, there's stuff that was killable with fireballs that isn't, and stuff that wasn't killable with fireballs that is now. When you go to the levels that have the fences, you can't flip to the other side anymore. You can't swim in water in non-underwater levels anymore. Bowser, and also the final boss fight, Bowser does not drop rolling balls. So yeah, the ROM for this is readily available, and you can find Famicom cartridges out there. Like I said, it's quite the impressive port. But as a game in its own right, it has a lot of issues. I'd still recommend it. But mostly, if you weren't a huge fan of Super Mario World or curious about ports to lesser platforms, it's one you could skip and be alright. But yeah, as far as unlicensed, unofficial titles go, this is definitely one of the better ones. Oh yeah, the switches are already hit as well. You don't have the switch levels. At least I didn't see them. And now we're going to go on to Super Mario Bros. 4. This one looks quite a bit different. You notice the little characters on the map are not Mario. The little guy underneath is some basic, looks like a kid in a cowboy hat. And now Mario has some sort of weird ability to turn into a ball, but he can't jump on people. And most of the standard power you can expect from an older. It definitely doesn't play like a Mario game. Much more slow paced. Jumps are much more floaty. The levels don't really feel like Mario levels. But anyway, we'll go over who actually made this. One of dozens of NES and Famicom Mario hacks. This one was released in it's Super Mario and then Roman numeral 4, or just Mario. It does have apparently has a PCB. The printed circuit board is almost identical to other releases by JY Company, who's the publisher. And it's believed that this initially hit the market in early 1992 or around Christmas of 1991. So yeah, the reason it doesn't really play like a Mario game is... Here we go. It is just a sprite swap with this game, a Japanese game called Armadillo. They just changed a few sprites into Mario and called it a Mario game. I think there are a few changes to levels here and there, but very minor changes. Essentially the same game as Armadillo with a few sprites switched around. Which I'd never played this Armadillo game, and since we have it up, we might as well discuss it. It's a game by a company called 45. It was AIM at the time, and it's published by Information Global Service on August 9th of 1991 in Japan. You play Billy the Shell, a cowboy who needs to rescue his love Cheryl from an evil organization who has since kidnapped her. You have your normal form, where you can't do a whole lot, but it's easier to control, and then you have this ball form that allows you to kill enemies. And the ball has unique physics that allow you to get to places you wouldn't otherwise be able to. Actually, adds a strategic puzzle element to the game. And the level layouts are designed in such a way to take advantage of that. As far as platformers go on the Nintendo, it's actually quite a good platformer. The controls are responsive. Like I said, it is a bit slow. The jumps are floaty. It can be frustrating at times. But most of the frustration I had was when I was expecting a Mario game out of it. Only this is a completely different game. After playing for about 10-15 minutes, you'll adapt to the physics. Most levels are set up where you have sections. You go through a doorway, you have another section. It might have a different background and foreground, maybe slightly different enemies. You make it through so many sections, and at the end of the level, you have a goal sign, and you jump, and the further you can jump, you'll hit a thing underneath a button, and you'll get extra points. There are some traveling creatures on the map that you can fight. I saw one that was a chicken, and I forget the other one was. It requires really taking advantage of your ball form and precise movement to defeat. But yeah, Armadillo is actually quite a fun platforming game. Has a cute aesthetic to it. The levels are designed quite well, and the addition of the ball form adds an element that makes it quite a unique game compared to other platformers. So yeah, we have the original Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, and Super Mario 4, which is just a rip-off of this Armadillo game. And with Super Mario World and Super Mario 4, both of those games are two-player alternating, as is Armadillo, a two-player alternating game. But it is one of those games that's fun enough to watch, and the levels are quick enough where you're not going to spend that much time sitting there bored. So yeah, all the games we discussed today. We have 4 categories, not recommended is the bottom. We also have a borderline mediocre category, which are games where maybe if you're especially interested in intellectual property or the style of game, perhaps it's worth checking out, but otherwise they're rather average, flawed titles. Then we have recommended, and then we have top tier, which is saved for the absolute best games available. Compiling all the scores I had available from our group. Super Mario Brothers 3 is in the top tier. It's actually in the top 10 out of about, I think we have 400 games on the list at the moment. Super Mario Brothers, Armadillo, Mario Brothers, and even the Super Mario World port are all games I'd recommend. And roughly in that order, from best to worst. And Super Mario Brothers 4, I mean, it's the same game as Armadillo, except you have some Mario sprites swapped into the game. There's really no reason to get it unless you collect obscure bootlegs. There's really not a reason to get that. Just get Armadillo, the original game. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. There's gameplay footage from all these games going up, and have a great day.